The Locker Room, with all the sports news you need, live.
There we go, just get that. We're back again, and it is the domestic football we're talking about this weekend. None of Scotland chat. Well, we'll be talking about Scotland in a minute or two. So good evening, welcome to the locker room, and it's Michael, Reegan, and a man called Graeme Duffy. He's just in for the heat. All the banter. It's on till 7 o'clock tonight. Get your comments coming in.
You've got no banter, mate. That's a problem.
Who me or Graeme?
Well, that's
I've got plenty of that.
That's
both of us.
That's debatable, Michael.
Yeah, well, I could answer that. Yeah, we're on until 7 o'clock. Of course, get your comments coming in, and we are back on Twitter. So if you want to leave a comment, or if you want to follow us on Twitter, on X, sorry, I'm behind the times there, it's Locker Room Indie. I hope I've got that right, actually, because I've not got it in front of me. I'm sure Graeme will kill me if I'm wrong. Why got the mark? Oh, well, he's not making a face, so it must be right. Well, maybe he's not making a face because he's absolutely Baltic through Pennycook as well. Anyway, that's enough about the weather forecast. Let's get on to the show. We're here until 7 o'clock tonight. As I say, Reegan and Graeme joins us tonight. And hopefully after 6 o'clock, we'll be joined by Robbie coming on the show. So first of all, guys, back to domestic football. But before we get there, the playoff draw was announced today for Scotland, and the playoffs will begin on March. And Scotland will play Greece in the Nations League Group A, B playoffs next March. Obviously, the first leg will be in Greece on the 20th of March, with the second leg at Hampden on the 23rd of March. Your comments on that, Graeme?
Difficult game. I think they're all going to be difficult, but it's definitely a game Scotland can win over two legs. I was looking at actually the last 10 fixtures. They've won 6, drawn 1 and lost 3. And the games they lost were against England, Georgia and Holland. But they did actually beat England at Wembley. So they're not a bad side. They tend to play 4-2-3-1. But I think if you're looking at what we've played already, when you look at the Nations League group we're in, Poland, Croatia and Portugal, they're all better than Greece. And we competed against them. So I think we've got a very good chance over two legs here. It's important we go away and get a decent result to take back to Hampden. I'm quite confident. You know, with the squad that we've got, I'm quite confident. We've got players to come back as well, like Kieran Tierney and stuff as well. I think we've got a really good squad there, and I think Scotland can look forward to this. I generally think over two legs, this is a game that I think we can definitely win.
Reegan, I'm looking forward to the game, not because it's a play. Well, obviously it's a playoffs as well, but we haven't really played Greece in kind of the international football.
No, it's been a long while. Some people would say that it's been an eternity, and I think it'll be great to play them. Obviously, they beat an England team that are pretty great. I mean, they beat them away from home as well, so they'll be very difficult. But I expect Scotland to do very well, and I think this is a tie that we can get through.
Yeah, I'm just looking here, Graeme. The last time the sides met was a qualifying campaign for Euro 96, which Scotland, fun enough, was unsuccessful. And both sides won their home matches 1-0 in the campaign. Greece held out for the winner in Athens after a 19 minutes penalty. But we're hoping for a different story this time, Graeme.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I don't think there's any reason Scotland should fear going into these games, given what we've played already. And then you look at the players to come back as well, like I mentioned there, like Sir Kieran Tierney, you've got Lewis Ferguson to come back, probably Che Adams as well. I think Scotland can look at this and be very confident. You know, when the draw was getting made, I was looking at it and thinking, there's nobody I really worry about playing in this. You know, Austria would have been difficult, but I think, again, very winnable. So, yeah, I think this is a game that definitely Scotland, over the two legs, can win. I know I do look at the fact that Greece have beaten England at Wembley. So, yes, it will be difficult, but I genuinely believe that the way that Scotland are playing just now, and, you know, look at a guy like Ben Doak as well, he will cause numerous problems. So I think this is a game that I'm looking forward to. I think Scotland can definitely get through this tie.
Robbie, good to see you, mate. We were just talking about the Scotland playoffs against Greece. Obviously, it's not called March, but it's something to look forward to. What's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, when I seen the draw was made, I was quite excited, to be honest. You know, Greece have picked up a good few results in the last few games, so no doubt getting into next year, they'll be confident. But so should we be. We've got an array of talent that can really hurt Greece. And, you know, Graeme mentioned that Dokun, I believe it will probably be Simicast that plays come that game. You know, I've got to watch up for a bit of Simicast, and one thing to say is he's not the fastest player in the world, so if we can get Doric attacking, especially at Simicast during the games, then I'm sure that'll be a big threat. But it's something to look forward to come next year, and I think we should be confident that we can win it overall.
Yeah, I mean, Reegan, looking at the campaign just going past, it was a kind of mixed bag. But obviously, we were here on Wednesday night. Was it Wednesday night? No, it was Monday night. Every night just comes into a big night at the moment.
It was Wednesday night.
Monday night for the game. Yeah, you're just getting this forgetful with me, mate. But you know, you're older than me, you know, so but I won't hold that against you. Monday night, brilliant performance by Scotland. But if you look at the campaign as a whole, Reegan, it was a mixed bag. Like we never started very well, but towards the end we came in, but on a wee bit, and we picked up a crucial 3 points in Poland in Monday night.
Aye, we did. And if you look at that, I mean, if Portugal would have won their match against Croatia, I will never be visiting Portugal on holiday again, Michael. So if you fancy going on a locker room holiday, then we'll not be going to Portugal, because I tell you something, I don't think any Scottish person will be going there, because if Portugal would have won, we would have got into pot one. I mean, what a result that would have been for us to get into pot one. Because the big thing about this next tournament, I don't know if you guys know, but I mean, we're going to be playing Spain or a France or something like that. I mean, the best option we can probably get is Croatia, right? But and I was reading yesterday, Michael, that only one team goes through in the World Cup European stages, and then the second place goes to a playoff. So so it's going to be very difficult, you know. So it would have been more ideal if we were in pot one. So yeah, I think it's going to be difficult, but I think Nations League as well is very important.
Good evening to Paul Donaldson on YouTube. Hopefully you're well, mate, and keeping well. I was going to say keeping warm. I forgot up in Aberdeen, but I forgot you don't ski up in Aberdeen. But I think the weather's quite bad up there. Good evening to Anna Lino as well. And Paul comes back and was, I don't understand how Scotland could beat Poland and finish above Portugal in the group, but Poland goes into a higher pot of the World Cup. That's the thing, Robbie. I've been trying to work out the Nations League for about 10 seasons now. I'm only kidding, by the way, because it's not been going for 10 seasons. But every time I think about the Nations League, I always lose sleep. So do you understand it?
It is quite difficult to understand. I don't quite understand it yet, but I think the point that, you know, Reegan made is quite interesting, that, you know, if we were in pot one, we would have avoided some of the big teams. But there's no doubt, you know, looking at the rest of the pots, that we can realistically beat anyone. That there's no, I don't think we should fear anyone in the other sort of three pots that are available. So I think if if it comes to it, I feel like we can beat anyone, really.
Do you know, it goes to show how quickly football can change, because it wasn't that long ago, start of the Nations League campaign, everyone was really negative because we'd lost our first 3 games.
Yep.
But our last 3 games getting 7 points just goes to show how things can change very quickly. And performances as well have been much improved. You look at that Poland game, we were brilliant that night. We thoroughly deserved to win the game. But it just goes to show that, all the negativities that are in Scotland not that long ago, things can change very, very quickly. And again, I go back to Ben Doak. To have somebody that exciting, I love wingers that take people on, get to the byline and put crosses in. Ben Doak's the first player that I've actually seen in Scotland that actually has the pace to do that. There is excitement, but like I said, it just goes to show how quickly things can change, because it wasn't that long ago that there was a lot of negativity. That's changed.
Yeah, football's a fun old game. It's somebody used to say years ago, Reegan, because we were all ranting.
Ask you guys a point, right? Do you think Ben Doak's somebody that can break into that Premier League team in maybe 6 months to a year's time, Graeme? Because you're a Liverpool fan, do you think he's somebody you can trust?
Yeah, I think he will. I don't think he's a replacement for Salah, because I think Salah's just that elite level. I don't think Doak's quite at that level yet.
I don't think he's on that level, but I think he's somebody that they can definitely call upon it.
Oh, absolutely. I would have no problem if he got called up to a game, because he's got that pace and ability. And what I like is the fact that, and I think I said this last week, he doesn't care for reputations. Like, look at Guardiola, 77 million Man City spent on him, and Doak ripped him apart. He doesn't care about, anyone's calibre. He just gets the ball and he takes people on. And I think he would do that. He's doing well at Middlesbrough, and I think right now that's probably a good move for him. But if he got into that Liverpool team, I've got absolutely no doubt he would do very, very well. But he's not a replacement for Salah, because Salah's just that elite level.
Okay, so that's the Scotland game coming up in the new year against Greece, and we'll all be supporting Scotland. Well, at least part of my family will be anyway. Anyway, moving on to the domestic matters now. By the way, sorry if you're watching, but who cares? It's a Premiership this weekend. We're back to domestic football action, and we're all over the shop. And I'm not just talking about the show. We're all over the shop in terms of games played at 3:00 tomorrow, 5:45, 6:15, and 8:15 as well. And for the very first time, Graeme, in a while, we'll be here doing the show on Sunday, and we'll have nothing to really talk about because there won't be any live football action.
Yeah, I was thinking that a couple of days ago. It's probably the first time in a while that every game's been on the Saturday, even though they're obviously different times. But I quite like that, though. I like having a Saturday that's just like full of football, and then Sunday you can just kind of, watch what's happened on the Saturday rather than have to think about the game on the Sunday as well, because it is difficult to do the show when there's a game going on. So yeah, it's different this time, but I like it though.
Okay, let's have a look at the games this weekend. Actually, starting off with the game at Ibrox between Rangers and Dundee United. Hearts versus Celtic is a 8:15 kickoff actually on a Saturday night. So what would you prefer, watching Strictly Come Dancing or Hearts or Celtic? Or
Strictly Come Dancing, the way I think this
game
might go.
Yeah, well, in your case, yeah, exactly. We've got Robbie's team St Mirren against Aberdeen. That will be a very difficult game for the Saints there. Dundee against Hibs. That is a 6:15 kickoff. Graeme gave us, yeah, 6:15. And there we go. Is Ross County against Kilmarnock and Ross County against Murrow, sorry, and St Johnson against Kilmarnock.
That game is due for a pitch inspection at 8:00 in the morning because of snow.
What game that? Ross County?
Ross County, Motherwell.
All right, okay. Okay, well, if there was any pitch inspections involved, Reegan, I would say Ross County would be at the top of that list.
Don't someone up there at early in the morning. Wait, do you hear?
Yeah, no, exactly. We'll be on by the locker room about.
It'll get called off at 2:55 when everyone's already on the ground.
Yeah, that's not the first game that's happened.
I don't remember the game, Graeme, but remember that hand one game? It was like 5-3 and the game got called off, remember? Is it?
So let's kick off with the game at Ibrox tomorrow then, 3 o'clock kickoff. Rangers against Dundee United, Graeme. And it's going to be an interesting game because obviously the last time the sides met, Rangers won 1-0, but I thought Dundee United played well in large parts of that game.
They did, and Rangers are not very good just now. I think that's pretty obvious to see. They're not playing that well. You know, the game before the international break against Hearts, we should have got something out of that game. They looked very, very poor. There's a lot of division among Rangers fans. There's also the talk about maybe Philip Clement being in for the Belgian job. I don't think that'll happen.
No chance.
No, I don't see that happening. I know they've also got this new guy coming in as well. I can't pronounce his name, but there's a lot of unhappy Rangers fans' performances. They're not happy, understandably so, because they are really poor. And then against United side that have done very well. I've been impressed with them this season under Goodwin. I think they play some really good stuff. They won 3-0 before the break. You know, they've got a guy in Sam Dalby that's got 5 goals this season. He will cause a lot of problems. I think every game right now is a tough game for Rangers because they make it look tough. Now, I would say because it's at Ibrox, they would win it. But the game at Hearts was at Ibrox, and they didn't look great in that game. Whether this 2-week break's a good thing for them, I don't know. But if there's one game I think United will be looking forward to, it'll be this one, because I think they've got players that can cause them problems. But this is a big, big game for Rangers. You know, they're under massive, massive pressure. I think I mentioned this to Andy and Josh as well before, that I don't really see a style of football with Clement. I don't see what he's trying to do. It seems like he's, square pegs and round holes, just stick people where they don't want to be. I don't see a style of football. The football's really poor to watch as well. So I think United will fancy this. I really do.
I want to ask you, Graeme. I mean, you spoke about the manager there. I think if Rangers could rid of Philippe Clement for a fee of £3 million to Belgium, I think the Rangers fans would be dancing around George Square. I mean, I think the majority of the supporters were saying that he should see the exit door. So I think they'd be very happy if Belgium came calling.
Yeah, I don't really see a style of football. I think he's quite a negative manager. Now, the problem is that if he did go, whoever comes in is going to have to use the squad that's there until January when they can sign players, but do they have the money to do that?
That's what
I think if Clement left, they would still struggle because that squad's just not good enough.
I don't know if you've noticed, Graeme, but I was on I was online the other day and I noticed that, remember the guy that got mentioned before? Is it Muscat?
Yeah, Kevin Muscat, yeah.
Kevin Muscat, yeah.
He just won the championship in China. So I'm thinking he might be a candidate again because he seems to win everywhere he goes, Graeme. He seems to really do well, and I think he's with Singapore Stranglers, and he won the Chinese league. So,
to be honest, I think I'd fancy my chance to win a league in China. I mean, the standard of football there can't be that good, let's be honest. So yeah, I just think that any manager that goes into Rangers has got a difficult job because those players I just don't think are good enough. And yet again, I've heard more Rangers fans saying, Tavernier needs to get dropped. I mean, I get why he gets criticism because the captain and he's not really won a lot, but it's not all down to him. There's other players in that team that I just don't think are good enough. I go back to that game against Hearts. Once Rangers scored, I thought they will probably end up hammering us. Now, that didn't happen. They looked nervous. They looked devoid of ideas. And I just think that's a big, big game tomorrow. They're 9 points behind Celtic and Aberdeen. They can't afford to drop any further. And against United side, that, like I said, I've been very impressed by. And if United win, I think they go level with Rangers. It's a big game for both teams. But the way that Jim Goodwin sets his sides up, they'll be difficult to beat. They'll try and hit in the counter-attack. They'll probably try and frustrate Rangers. But unlike us, if they get chances, they've got to take them. But this is a huge game for Rangers tomorrow. They cannot afford to drop any more points. And do you know what? I actually think they might. I think they could drop points tomorrow.
Paul Donaldson says, Robbie, I think Dundee United can get a draw tomorrow. Do you think Dundee United will catch Rangers cold in terms of like the range? I don't know how many Dundee United players were away in international duty, but I suppose maybe a big majority of the Rangers fans were away in international duty. I mean, we saw it in the past with Celtic. Hearts coming to Celtic Park. Okay, Celtic won that day, but Celtic wasn't in top form. Hearts were the better team. Do you think that Dundee United will take comfort of that going to Ibrox, knowing that it's just after a kind of international break?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, international breaks can work differently for some teams. You know, if you're in good form, you really don't want an international break. You want to keep it going. If you're in bad form, it's what you dream of. But I was reading earlier that Jim Goodwin was saying he plans to build tension at Ibrox, which indicates to me it's going to be a game where he'll sit back, sit in deep, narrow, try and trap Rangers and hit them on a counter-attack. So it's going to be interesting to see if that works. I don't think Dundee United should fear Rangers at all, to be honest. I don't think anyone should. Me and Graeme know best. It's been Hearts and St Mirren at Ibrox in the past few weeks, and both have felt really, really close to picking up points. So I think if you're Dundee United, especially Goodwin, you've got to go there with full confidence that you can go and get even 3 points at the game. I don't see why not.
I mean, Reegan, Rangers haven't lost a game all season at home, but as Graeme was saying, and everybody's been watching Rangers games, whether it's on the TV or going to Ibrox, they've not been kind of outstanding. You're not walking away from Ibrox to say, "Oh yeah, I was so pleased with that performance today because we were outstanding."
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on there. I think I've not watched Rangers this season and thought, wow, they've been outstanding, they've been great. But I think it's something about Graeme. I thought Hearts actually waited time guys on did well. Me and Graeme were doing the show with Alistair and Robbie when Rangers were playing that game and it was 5 o'clock kickoff and Celtic were playing at Rugby Park as well. And I thought Hearts actually did really well, Graeme.
We did, and if Kenny Vargas could learn to finish, we might have got at least a point out of the game. But yeah, I mean, we should have got something out of the game. But that's what I mean. You look at Rangers when they took the lead in that game, and there seemed to be a nervousness around Ibrox. It's like whenever we got the ball, they look quite nervous. And I think the same thing could happen tomorrow. Now, Rangers got an early goal against us. If United can keep it tight and keep it quite close, that crowd honestly will turn very quickly. They will definitely turn on the Rangers players. It's a big game for Rangers tomorrow. They can't really afford to drop any more points. But I agree with Paul. I think United can definitely get a point tomorrow with the players they've got. And I mentioned Sam Dalby. I think the laddie Will Ferry's been really good as well. They've got really good players on the United side that can cause them problems. So yeah, if I'm a Rangers fan, I wouldn't be overly confident going into tomorrow. But they have to win. They simply have to win. They cannot afford to drop any more points.
Robbie, is that a bit concerning because obviously the links, in fact, it's been about 2 weeks now. The links has been with someone in Belgium, but it's Graeme rightly pointing out there that I'm not saying by any matter means he'll walk away, right? But if he does, right, the new manager will have a job in his hands, Reegan, because obviously it's the same crop of players that's been there really from Michael Beale's time.
I don't think you can really blame the manager. I think you can blame him in terms of the style of football. I mean, I can understand why the Rangers fans are not happy and they're not turning it there in their droves, which they should be. But I just think the style of football is rubbish. But I don't think you can blame the manager in terms of the players. You'll obviously get onto it, but you spoke about one of his players he's brought in during the summer as well. He's got injured as well, so he's going to be out for a good month. So I don't think it's all down to him, but it's also down to the recruitment as well. And as Graeme said earlier on the show, I mean that guy, the Dutch guy that Rangers have brought in, is it Koppen or Koppen? And he's now signed a new contract, and he's got an extra few quid because he's now signed as the director of football instead of the the technical director. I don't know if that's earning them maybe a few extra bob because it's a different title, but yeah, I mean, Rangers fans will not be caring about that. They'll just be looking for things to improve in the park.
I think as well, I think we've mentioned this before as well, but Rangers in Europe are a different side to what they are in the league, and I think it is because there's not as much pressure on them. You know, they go into these European games and they can relax a little bit because maybe they're not expected to win these games. But in the Premier League, they're expected to win games like United at Ibrox and Hearts at Ibrox. In Europe, it's a different kind of test, and they seem to do better in that when there's less pressure on them. Tomorrow, the pressure is all on them, and I don't think they're good at coping with that.
Even Alan McCoy admitted, Graeme, on the TV a few weeks ago, he said no reason that Rangers won that title under Gerrard was because there was no supporters there putting pressure on them. He said that on the TV the other day.
Robbie, from a Dundee United point of view, obviously they've got to take heart, and obviously I was watching Jim Goodwin's press conference and he was very confident. He was saying, oh no, we're going to Ibrox to win. Now that's the first time I've heard a manager kind of saying that either going to Ibrox or Parkhead, because obviously managers always say, well, it's going to be tough, it's going to be a tough game, but no, he's coming out with, we're going to win.
I mean, I think Goodwin has every right to be confident, to be honest. I mean, if Dundee United win the game, they go level on points with Rangers, so it just shows how good they've been this season. You know, at Dundee United, a lot of people I know especially wrote them off a bit and said, you know, they'd be fighting down at relegation and that sort of scrapped in there. But I think Dundee United coming up, you know, with the squad that they have and the players they have, I think they were always going to be up here doing quite well, and they're doing it now. And again, Goodwin was one that received a lot of criticism based on, you know, especially Aberdeen and how things worked out there. But there's no doubt he's grown and developed as a manager, and you know, he knows how to get his team set up. So I expect this will be a very interesting game, and it honestly won't surprise me if Dundee United do manage to pick up 1 point or even 3.
Graeme, I've been very impressed with Dundee United this season, and I remember, was it back in October, they never had a home game for a whole month, and the only defeat came to Motherwell in the League Cup quarter final, and they went to difficult away venues. I can't remember who they played actually, and they picked up all 3 points bar that cup game I was talking about.
They beat they beat us 1-0 at our stadium as well. That was a good win.
Yeah, I mean, I think when teams come up from the Championship, they kind of suppose their main aim usually is just to stay up. But United have been far better than that. They've actually played some decent stuff as well. And obviously, United fans, some of them maybe weren't overly convinced by Goodwin after his Aberdeen spell. But some managers suit certain clubs, and he definitely suits United. They play a really decent brand of football. They've got some really good players in that team as well. They've got players that can score goals up front as well. So they have done very, very well. And, you know, with a chance to go to Ibrox to go level on points with Rangers, it's a massive opportunity for them, and they've got to take it. But I think you need to be very impressive, and you have to give a lot of credit to Jim Goodwin, because everyone goes back to that horrendous spell they had at Aberdeen when they got beat by Darvel, Hearts and Hibs in the same week. That was brutal, and I think a lot of folk probably thought, where's he going to go now? He's done very well at United. I think they probably should have, maybe a lot of folk were saying they should have won the league championship a lot more comfortably, but they've come up and they've been very, very impressive. They have played some really good stuff, and they'll go there tomorrow and make it difficult. And honestly, I don't think anybody would be really surprised if they took something out of Ibrox.
So that's the game tomorrow at Ibrox, Rangers against Dundee United. By the way, I forgot to mention, guys, the show on Wednesday night, if you haven't watched it, go back and watch it again. It's on Graeme's favourite subject. It's VAR, and the guy's on from behind the whistle. So go and watch that that podcast that was out on Wednesday night. It's still available on the Independence Live channel, right, Graeme? I don't know if you want to go away at this bit because we're talking about Hearts and Celtic tomorrow, 7:45 kickoff. Before we dive into Celtic, because Celtic's been very impressive this season, what do you make of this game?
I don't know. Is the honest answer. I generally don't know. I think the good thing for me is that Critchell's now had 2 weeks to prepare the team. He's not really had that much of a break since he's come in. He's had 7 games in 23 days. He's not had a proper chance to train the players. So this will have helped. And I have been impressed with a lot of the games he's had so far. We look far better organised. We've got more of a game plan. The couple of games of Europe we've played some really good stuff. Really, really impressive. We're playing a lot quicker. The tempo's been a lot higher. And the game at Ibrox, we should have got something out of the game. You know, Kenny Vargas misses certainly one very big chance. So we are doing a lot better. But we're up against a really good Celtic side. Now, before the break, Kilmarnock, I think Reegan was the one that mentioned that I think Kilmarnock had the most shots against Celtic that anyone's had for a long, long time. But they didn't take their chances and Celtic won. If we get a chance, we've got to take them. But I'm expecting Hearts to come out really quickly and press. I think I said this before, I am very, very surprised that the police have allowed this game to go ahead 7:45 on a Saturday night. I mean, seriously, this is going to cause absolute chaos, but it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, it should be a decent game. I'm expecting Hearts to come out really quickly and really press. But I kind of think Celtic's quality will end up shining through. But yeah, I've been impressed with Critchley so far. The one thing that I'm hoping for tomorrow, apart from a win, is that Lawrence Shanklin scores. Because it's been so long since I've seen Lawrence Shanklin score a goal. Please, Lawrence, score tomorrow.
I mean, Graeme, yeah. I mean, speaking about Shankland, obviously, you said, you know, Crouchley might have helped him having that 2 weeks for the players, but the one player he was without was Shankland. I mean, him coming back for Scotland, how do you see him, you know, fitting into the system?
I mean, if I look back at the Rangers game, he actually played a lot deeper, but he played very well. I want him back up front, though. But the thing with Shankland is, even though he's not scoring, he is still contributing. You know, he has still had a few assists. He has looked a lot better recently, but it's just that finishing touch is going to let him down. Whereas before, if I look at some of the games he's played recently, like the game against Heidenheim at home in the first 2 minutes, last season he scores that. It feels like he's kind of snatching at chances just now. It's like he's not having the composure that he had last season. But I genuinely don't think his performance has been that bad. And I think under Critchley, Critchley said that when he first came in, he was one of the main players that he spoke to first. I think his performance has been good. He's just not getting that bit of luck in front of goal. Hopefully that changes tomorrow. But his performances, I think, have been actually quite good.
Sorry, Graeme, I want to ask you about a lot of topics that's been on my ex. And for anybody, it's not my ex. But yeah, I just want to talk to you a lot of topics that's been on my ex. And that is the topic of Vargas. Because he's saying that Scottish football's rubbish, it's not a good standard. He's talking about that he's looking to go to a bigger team. He's not, you know, stuff like that. What do you make it? You know, you buying into it? Or are you saying that you want rid of him? How are you taking to it? And then I read today on my ex, you know, not my ex again, but my ex, that basically that he's returning late.
Tell you what, you've got a lot of exes, mate. Something you're telling us here. That's for another show.
Frank McAvenny.
Again, where's the birds? I wasn't overly impressed at the time when he made the comments, and I thought it was a bit daft. I mean, he's only 22. He will learn, but you have to learn that these kind of comments are going to get back to Hearts. You know, you can't say these kind of things around national duty. And I thought at the time it was a bit daft to make those comments, because if you're going to say that, you need to have a bit of you need to have done something, and he's not done anything. You know, he got 9 goals last season in his first spell. It's not bad, but this season he's missed numerous chances, and then to come out with that kind of stuff, I didn't agree with that at all. Now, he did say that he's committed to Hearts. That's fine. I take him at his word, but he's going to have to knuckle down and really start performing. I've seen a few Hearts fans on my timeline saying, "Oh, do you think if Vargas plays tomorrow, he'll get booed?" I hope not, because I don't agree with that at all. That's not going to help. But he's going to have to start performing. And I know I did see the Critchley thing about he came back late. I don't think he'll start anyway. I think there's a good chance that Musa might start tomorrow, which I hope he does. But yeah, the comments were very unwise, but he will learn. You know, he's a young laddie still, but at the time, I wasn't overly impressed with it because he's not done anything to say those
I
comments.
want to ask you as well, Graeme, because surely, right, I can understand it, like, for maybe a Celtic player who's playing Champions League football, who's doing really well. But you can say if the guy was scoring you maybe 10 goals and he was playing really well, you're sitting bottom of the league and he's no contributing, so he can't say anything now. You know,
Yeah, that was kind of my point. I think he's got 2 goals this season, which is more than Shanklin, to be fair. But yeah, you can't say those comments if you've not really proven anything yet, and he's not proven anything. So I did think at the time that his comments were very ill-advised, and I don't know. I kind of, when I heard that, I thought maybe it's been misinterpreted, but a lot of people say that these days, don't they? When they're abroad, they go, misinterpreted. He did say it. It was daft to say at the time, but he has come out and said, look, I'm committed to Hearts. I want to be here. He only signed a new 5-year deal not that long ago, so he's going to have to prove himself. And if he plays tomorrow, if he gets on the park, at what point, he's going to have to knuckle down and show that, because if he misses chances like he did against Rangers and Aberdeen, then the fans will just get back on his back again, and he can't really do that. So, yeah.
I think that is true, Graeme, because the only way he's going to get a move is if he plays well for Hearts.
Exactly. And to be saying, like, I might want to leave in January, well, it's like, I don't understand that comment when you've only just arrived. You know, you've got to do something first. It feels like the Derek Adams stuff again. When Derek Adams criticised standard of Scottish football, Derek Adams was in Scottish football, so I understand that. VAR, I guess, has been here like 10 minutes and he's criticising it. You have to start performing, and he's not done that. So, yeah, it was very ill-advised.
Neil Critsey was talking to the media today, Robbie. He was saying, talking about Celtic, they're a fantastic team. They're no doubt they are the best team in Scotland at the moment. Moment in time, they are in a really good moment. You look at the fact that they are unbeaten this season. I think their only concern, they've conceded 3 goals in the league, and one of them was a penalty. So we know the challenge that is right in front of us, but we can take confidence in some of our recent performances, and we're slightly better in areas of the pitch. Then we know we can certainly cause Celtic problems.
Yeah, I mean, for Celtic, if you look at the most recent performance against Killing, you know, we watched the show and watched the game on here, sorry. I don't think Celtic were great, to be honest, but, you know, we keep saying that the one thing that champions can do is win, even when they're not playing well, and that's what Celtic do consistently. Even if they're not having the best game, they still find a way to win, but you just need to look at the performances before that. You know, the Leipzig game, we spoke about it countless times, how well Celtic were on the night, so Hearts know the challenge they're up against, and Carrick will know it as well. I think the one thing that we took for the Killer game was Hearts, if they get any chances, need to take them, and that's where, you know, the shoulders, you know, the big responsibility on Shanklin's shoulders to try and find the net for Hearts, because they'll not be many chances for Hearts during this game, and if they get any, Shanklin's going to need to take them to try and get something out of this game. But, you know, it's at Tynecastle, it's a late kick-off. It'll be a difficult game for Celtic, no doubt. You know, the Tynecastle crowd, I'm assuming it'll be close to a sellout. And they'll be right behind the Hearts team, so it'll be a difficult game for Celtic. But I still see Celtic, you know, being able to get the points here.
Reegan, from a Celtic point of view, what are you hoping for? Because obviously we talked about Rangers coming back after the international break. This is the first time Celtic's been back as well, going to a very difficult venue outside maybe Rangers in the League Tynecastle.
I want to ask Graeme this. Is this a kind of opportunity you see, Graeme, just because Celtic are off the international break? Is this the kind of time that you want to play them because they're not up to speed?
No, I never want to play Celtic because our record's rubbish. Although we did beat them twice last season. But yeah, maybe it is a good time to play them. Maybe they won't be quite maybe they won't be quite as up for it, but I think they will be. But I think, you know, Saturday night under the lights, it should be a really good atmosphere. It is a sellout. So yeah, it should be a really good atmosphere, but it's going to be a very difficult game. I'm under no illusion of that. It'll be very, very difficult. If Celtic are on their game, they can hammer anyone, as they showed against Aberdeen in the Cup. A lot of folk thought that was going to be a really close game, and it wasn't. if Celtic are on it, then we're in for a difficult game. But I hope, with the time that Critchell's had with the team for this last 2 weeks, and like I said, I've been impressed with what he's done so far in a short space of time. I'm more confident going at this game than I might have been a few weeks ago.
I think in terms of Celtic, Michael, I think Celtic will be fully aware of what the threats Hearts have. I mean, remember Brendan Rodgers, the unbeaten run stopped at Hearts as well. I mean, Graeme, remember that game? Remember Cochrane scored the belter in that game. So, like, sorry, but there's a few people outside my window there. But I think
Is it your exit? No.
I was going to say the same thing.
No. Well, it might be. But
in
terms of Celtic, I think if Celtic play well, Celtic win this match. But I've still got that wee reputation where I think first game after an international break, the most important thing for Celtic, Michael, is that they reign victorious after 90 minutes. See if it's a scrappy goal in the 85th minute that wins Celtic the match, Brendan Rodgers won't care. He'll just want to get that win under the belt, and then you've got a very important match next weekend against Ross County at home. So I think it'll be interesting though, Graeme, because the one thing I did think about was Celtic's got a big match on Wednesday night against Club Brugge, which we'll be talking about on Wednesday. But I'm sure with the locker room. So, what do you think? Brendan Rodgers might try and rest a few players, or do you think he want to get some minutes into people?
No, no chance. He'll want to be thinking about Wednesday. He'll think about tomorrow's game because obviously Aberdeen play tomorrow as well. So it's both teams have got big games. I don't think there's any chance that he's going to rest anybody. This is don't get me wrong, I think the game against Bruce is a big game, but he needs to focus on the league first. So I don't think there's any chance he will rest anyone tomorrow. It'll be a very, very strong Celtic side.
Sorry, Robbie.
No, I was just going to say for the Celtic fans, obviously news this morning that Alistair Johnson signed a new contract. I mean, how much would you
I'm glad you brought that up because it's a great bit of news. I mean, Alistair Johnson's been great. He's been absolutely fantastic. So I think it's a great bit of business. But to be honest with you, Robbie, if I'm being honest about it, I think this is the same case as Matt O'Reilly. If you look at Matt O'Reilly, he signed a contract this time last year, and where is he now? He's not here. So I think that this is a case of Celtic trying to make sure that they get quite a bit of money for him. I don't know if you guys agree, but I think this is what they're doing here, that they're protecting their players.
Because I think he's, am I right in saying, Reegan, he's still got 2 years left in the deal?
And he's just signed a new 5-year deal, so Celtic are just protecting that they could I don't think they'll sell him in January, but they might try and sell him in July or June, because they might think to themselves, right, if we can get a right back in, then we can sell Alistair Johnson for maybe 18 million or whatever, then that would be a profit for us. So, because don't forget, Brendan Rodgers is probably told by the board every single summer you're looking at selling an asset. And that's probably really good business because that's something I spoke about Rangers need to do more often. Is between you've got the assets, you need to strike when the iron's hot. As I like to call it, Michael, strike when the iron's hot. So when you can get the peak value for your players, you're able to sell them. I mean, the biggest example I can give you that is look at Aberdeen selling Miovski for about next to 9 million to a Spanish team. When's the last time you've seen a Scottish team signing a Scottish player? So I think that he's a very good player, but do I think he's here for the long term? Definitely not.
See, when you talk about Alistair Johnson signing that new deal, what does that mean for Anthony Ralston? Because obviously Ralston's been playing for Scotland the last couple of games.
Yep.
Is Ralston going to get much looking this season? Is he going to play sporadically?
But I think well, I'm not privy to the conversations with Graeme, but if I was, then Brendan Rodgers would probably I'd probably be sued by him. But I imagine that the way that they're talking, Graeme, is probably he's happy to sit on the bench. He's happy to be there and be the kind of backup guy. I don't know if you agree, but that's my reading of the situation.
Brendan Rodgers said that looking forward to it. Hearts are bottom of the league, but they're still
No,
a
we're
very
not.
good.
Hibs are.
Yeah, well, yeah. But
Just like
it's
get it in
still,
there.
There you
but
go.
but it's still going to be a
Again. Sorry.
but it's still going to be a tough game. Good evening to Sean O'Neill. He is watching the Neil. Sorry, he's watching the show and he's asking Graeme, what couch will you be hiding behind tomorrow night? No, he says, what do you think the score will be?
I've kind of already said on another platform that I think it'll be difficult. I don't think we'll get hammered. I genuinely don't. But I think Celtic might win 2-1. I think it'll be a lot closer than we folk think it will be. Certainly hope it's more closer than I think it will be.
I'm going to go 4-2.
Oh,
The half.
A 6-goal throw on a Saturday night. What more can you want? You know what I mean? Forget the exes. Forget the pub. Just watch the.
Well, I'll see what time Celtic get their first goal, then I might switch over my celebrity.
And let's go for a full house and ask Mr. Collins what the score will be tomorrow night, Robbie.
I think Hearts will pick up a point in this game. I think it's going to be 2-1, and I think Hearts get a point.
I knew there was a reason Robbie came on this show.
Robbie's rocking the boy here.
Seeing as nobody else seems to have mentioned it yet, I'm going to. But we also had the news this week about Tony Bloom coming into Hearts as well, and we're using the Jamestown analytics. I am genuinely excited by this because what it will mean is that we can hopefully send a better standard of player and then sell them on for a profit, which is the first time in a while that we've been able to do that. Also, Tony Bloom is looking to maybe get minority investment. There's a meeting among shareholders next month, which is going to be a big meeting about this. But I hope that this goes through because I don't see any reason why people wouldn't want this to happen. So for Tony Bloom to come in, he's wanting to get minority investment. He's wanting a minority shareholding, but he will put 10 million into the club. I don't see any reason why this should not go through. It's a good thing for Hearts.
I want to ask you, Graeme, right? I've got a question, then I've got a follow-up question. So I get the investment for Tony Bloom, right? I totally get it. But do you see this as he's coming in to sell for a profit, or do you see it as he's looking to challenge and win trophies?
He wants to have Hearts up there challenging. You know, you look at what he's done with Brighton, you look at what he's done with Union Saint-Gilloise. His kind of analytics company has been massive in that, and I think he wants us to be up there challenging. And actually, I did see something a couple of days ago from somebody else at Brighton. I can't remember who it was that made the statement, but they basically said that Hearts was the only team in Scotland they wanted to come into, which is a good thing for us as well, that they want to do that. And I think it maybe helps the fact that we had David Weir, who was at Brighton, ex-Jambo. We had Alec Cochrane, ex-Hearts, Brighton. We've got that link with him already. I genuinely think he wants to come in to help us challenge. I'm not going to say for a second that's going to happen, but I think what it should do is it will help us sign a better standard of player, which can only be a good thing. So yeah, I'm excited by it. I genuinely
am. Robbie, you've not been on the show since we've been talking about Tony Bloom as well. I just wanted your take on analytics in football. What do you think of that coming into the game?
I mean, I think in terms of, Bloom going to Hearts, I think it's only a positive for Hearts. As Graeme was speaking about, the recruitment standard will go right up, which, it only helps the league in the long run. The better standard of players we're getting on the pitch makes a huge difference in the game that we're playing. So I think in terms of Hearts and, the sort of all that, and I think it's a positive, but, I look at my club and, there's definitely negatives for us. I mean, look, I get it, it's positives for Hearts, but for us on the pitch, I feel like the league's getting to a point where it's going to be Rangers, Celtic, Hearts, and then the rest of the team scrambling below. And we always speak about Rangers and Celtic and the big gap. I feel like the gap where that sort of stuff coming into certain clubs, it's only going to make it bigger between different teams. So always try and look at positives and negatives, but there's no doubt analytics in football is getting more and more involved directly in the game, and I think for these clubs like Hearts, it's only a positive.
That's interesting. But going back to the game, finally, Reegan, Celtic, Hearts and Celtic, a big week for both sides in Europe.
Aye. Celtic are playing Bruges on Wednesday night. I'll be there. It's part of the people that'll be there, but it'll be good to see Celtic playing in Europe again because they beat RB Leipzig, as we've spoke about before, and it's going to be great to see them again in Europe. So I think it'll be great, and I don't know who Hearts are playing. Graeme will keep me up to date with that.
We're playing Bruges as well. We're playing Cercle Bruges.
Oh, but hopefully it's a double bruising for Bruges this week.
That would be some heckling, Reegan, and like
see if there's any newspapers that want to sign me up, just get in touch with Michael, and then we can sort it out.
Yeah, he's also on X as well, so you can get
Reegan
on
X. But it's fine. We're all good.
So there you go, quarter kickoff on the Saturday. I'm not sure. Have we had a? I don't think we've had a quarter kickoff before, apart from Hearts and Celtic during lockdown. When was it Postecoglou's first season?
Aye, I think the last kind of quarter 8 game I remember was Celtic against Rangers. Rio Hatate scored. That's the last kind of game I remember.
Oh no, I meant a Saturday night. I didn't mean just a kickoff any time.
No, I don't think so.
You can let us know in the chat as well, but I'm sure it was the Celtic Hearts game when Hearts beat Celtic. Was it 2-1, Graeme, that night or something like that?
It was, yep.
So let's move on to Robbie's team. He is at home tomorrow. Well, he won't be at home himself. We'll be home with other St Mirren fans. Aberdeen, Robbie, looking forward to this one.
I'm very confident, actually. More confident than I probably could be, to be honest. By the time it hits tomorrow at 5-3, I'll be nervous. But right now, I'm very confident. And I watched Aberdeen against Dundee, obviously, before the break. And I honestly don't think Aberdeen were that good. I thought, based on the way the first half went, if Dundee took their chances, it could have been a whole different game. And I think that's what it's going to come down to tomorrow. I think if we can take our chances, I think we will get spells where we'll be the better team. And if we can take our chances,
I'll be watching that match again tomorrow as well, Michael. I think I'll be going along to that. So I think I'm looking forward to watching Aberdeen and St Mirren. So it should be good.
Robbie, see, just on St Mirren, obviously, as a manager, you want to deal with stuff on the pitch, but Robinson's having to deal with a hell of a lot of stuff off the pitch. I mean, how well do you think him and, to be fair, the club have handled all that stuff?
I think the club's handled it to perfection, and I think Robinson has as well. A lot of people, for some bizarre reason, were starting to doubt Robinson earlier in the season, as a lot of our fan base tend to do. But I think with how much Robinson's had to deal with, the fact that we are sitting where we are right now on the table is only a credit to him. It's unbelievable that losing the type of players that we lost. They were good players, and it can really affect a team, losing that type of player, but we've bounced back really, really well. And going forward, I think that there's a lot of discuss. I know today Robinson came out and said that Olasanya and Richard Taylor are most likely not going to be signing new contracts. So, I know we were speaking about the Alistair Johnson situation going forward in the future. That's two massive misses if we can't get them signed in longer deals. So I think Robinson's handled everything brilliantly so far on and off the pitch, and the club have as well.
I was going to ask Robbie in terms of, I've been reading the last couple of days on my X that St Mirren have brought in Declan John. Do you think he'll be a starter, or do you think he's a kind of squad player?
Yeah, I think he'll be a kind of squad player. I don't know too much about him. I know he did used to play up here with Rangers. But I think that's the cover we need at the back, because losing a couple of guys to injuries, and obviously what happened behind the scenes, it's difficult when you're low numbers already. But the fact that we play with 5 direct defenders, it's even harder to deal with that. So I think Declan John coming in is a big thing, and I think he'll probably be back up to Tanser, to be honest. So I've got to say it's been excellent this season.
See, going back on to Graeme's point, Robbie, about St Mirren, obviously St Mirren's a small community club and all that, my local team and all the rest of it. But how well has Stephen Robertson handled it, as Graeme alluded to earlier? But and how has the shine went off it in a way? Because obviously we are talking about the games here, but obviously it's overshadowed by what's been happening off the pitch as well.
Yeah, I mean, luckily for us, the situation is dealt with now. All the players are released, and that's that. Thankfully, I think Robinson dealt with it in the best way he can in the press. And didn't really dive too much into it because it's not really his place, to be honest. As I said in the press multiple times, his job's to manage the games on the pitch. So, behind the scenes though, with the club, we are a community club, as you mentioned. We're very strongly built around the community that we have, and it's been such a big thing for the last few years. So I think for the club, we had to get this right, well, with what happened, and I think we got it spot on. We've done the best we could, and now the players are away, we can get back onto the actual on-pitch stuff.
Robbie, see that last game before the break, you played Hibs, and honestly, you should have won that game about 4 or 5. You were outstanding that day. Is that what's giving you the confidence going at this game tomorrow, that you can play as well as that?
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, if you look at the way the game went, it's going to be a lot harder to break Aberdeen down. It almost felt like O'Hara O'Hara, I think his name is, gave away the ball countless amount of times. I don't expect an Aberdeen midfielder, Graeme Shinnie, and whoever else it is, will probably gear away the ball as much. I expect them to be a lot stronger. So I think it'll be difficult, but one big key player is Conor McMenamin. After scoring 2 in the last game, he absolutely ripped Hibs apart. So I expect us to play very much in the wings again, and hopefully we can get a result here, because no one's been able to do it in the league so far.
Jimmy Phelan was talking to the media. He said that it's a good. He was saying about St Mirren, Robert. It's a good team, and we're going to play against. That we're going to play against. They're actually direct in the approach to the game. It's a very compact team that is still well organised. They have good parts of the game, and how they create chances. We have to be really strong in our defence, but also with the ball, we have to be clear and how we can attack them in a good way.
Yeah, I feel like every manager sort of says similar when the players. Every manager knows what they're going to get with us. We're as I said, a very compact team. We sit in, we give away a lot of possession. If you look at the Hibs game, I think it was 70% possession to us in the end. We are not a possession-based team, but what we are good at is hitting on the counter-attack. And just quickly to answer Paul's question, it was 2018 the last time Aberdeen picked up a result in Paisley. I think it was a 3-1 loss under Ron Kearney, so it's been a while.
That's what I was just going to ask you, Robbie. I mean, obviously, this is a new look Aberdeen, but I mean, the point that Paul Donaldson makes is a cracking point. I mean, the Aberdeen's not won it Paisley for a while, so that's a big positive for you, even though it's probably more psychological for the players as well.
Yeah, I think so. The players will take a big positive boost for it. I mean, obviously, the last time they came to Paisley, it was under Warnock, and we arguably should have lost that game. With the way the game went, obviously, the sort of late drama in the game meant we picked up a win. But I think for the players, it's massive. It gives them a big boost, and I think we should take full confidence. I keep saying this. I get that Aberdeen are undefeated and the rest of it, but I don't think we should fear this team. I don't think there's anything to fear. Obviously, they scored a lot of goals, but there's no reason why we can't stop them and beat them in the game.
Who's going to be the key players for you tomorrow, Robbie? Because it's going to be difficult, because you're talking about Aberdeen there and there's nothing to fear, right? But I think it's always a mountain to climb if you give Aberdeen a wee early goal and then they go on and they get the momentum of the game. So it's going to be important that you start very well. And who do you think will be the key players?
Yeah, I mean, speaking about early goals, I think Gogic is obviously the big one. He needs to be so solid tomorrow to stop any Aberdeen attack early on because, the last time they came here, they scored very, very early on and that sort of set the tempo for the game. But, even looking up the park, Olasanya, he sort of dipped off form recently. He's not scored as much, but we know how dangerous he can be. He's got a lot of pace, a lot of physicality. He'll no stop running all games. So, there's big players up and down the pitch, and Killian Phillips is another one. I keep bringing his name up. He's been so solid so far this season. And a midfield battle with the likes of Graeme and Clarkson, and I don't even know if McGrath's back yet, but if he does play, it'll be them type of players that we need to try and stop. So it'll be a massive game to see if we can beat this Aberdeen team.
Robbie, Paul Donaldson says, I'm a bit worried about the Aberdeen defence. We seem to lose a few silly goals, but we have also scored a lot of goals as well. I think Paul's referring back to the semi-final against Celtic the other week.
Yeah, I think for Aberdeen, I think with Olasanya up front, it can cause that defence a lot of problems, and it's something that if Olasanya does even start, I'm assuming they will. I don't know why we go with any of the big sort of strikers when we've got the pace of Olasanya in there. If we do go with him, I expect it'll be, try and get the ball over the top and see what he can do, because it actually worked at Ibrox until Clement took Robin Proper off the pitch. I thought Olasanya gave that Rangers defence a really hard time. So I think now having McMenamin and Greg Kiltie back is a big difference for us. With the way we like to play, with the sort of two wingers and then Olasanya through the middle, it's only going to have a positive effect on us. And I think it's a dangerous front three that really needs to get at Aberdeen tomorrow, because we can pick up the result. There's no doubt about it. With it, at Paisley, as I said, unbeaten in the last 8. We can pick up the 3 points here.
Rob, Reegan, we spoke about Aberdeen on the show. Apart from Aberdeen collapsing against Celtic, and look, to be honest, anybody could be collapsing against Celtic. What do you make of Jimmy feeling that the job that he's doing up in Aberdeen?
I think he's been brilliant, Michael. I think he's doing really well. And I think in terms of him, there's nothing else he can really do. He's doing really well, and I think in terms of him, like he's overexceeded the expectations, and he's doing really well. And I think Aberdeen fans, I mean, I said the other day that I'm really glad that Aberdeen have recruited him, because they could have easily went for a Derek McInnes, a Tony Docherty, Stephen Robinson, no disrespect to them, but they've recruited outside the box, and they've went and they've recruited someone that is very important to them. So I think overall, I think they're showing that they're capable of it.
Okay, let's move on to the game at 6:45 tomorrow, even Dundee and Hibs. And Robbie, I think if you were a Hibs fan, you would be very surprised that David Gray is still there.
The David Gray situation is horrible, because I don't entirely think it's his fault. I think, again, it comes down to what's actually happening behind the scenes in Hibs. And, this is one of the shows where I really would have loved to have had Mikey on, because, there's just a lot of questions you could ask Hibs fans right now. I think it's always a tough situation. Like, I think David Gray should, in my opinion, he should still be in the job. I think there was every right to sack him. I'm not doubting that. If they did sack him, I wouldn't have been surprised. But Hibs need to stick by a manager at some point. That's been 5. When do we start asking the question behind the scenes? It's been 5 or 6 managers Hibs have had, and the results are still the same. When does it get to a point, where the blame stops getting put on the manager, and we start asking, what's going on behind the scenes? I think it's the same situation, Graeme, at Ibrox as well. When Ibrox were struggling, we started asking, what's going on behind the scenes? And, I think, it's
we were talking about Philip Clement, but obviously the players would have to take some responsibility, and also talking about the boardroom and all that, we don't really know what's happening at the moment. So, I mean, David Gray's got a big job in his hands, but also he's got a few months coming up to work with the team, because obviously that's the last international break now till March next year. So he's got a full run of games coming up.
He does, and I think this job, and I said at the time, is too big for him. I don't think this should be his first proper job. I know he's had like interim games before at Hibs, but for your first managerial job, this is a difficult job. And I don't think that squad is a bit like Rangers. I don't think it's good enough. Now, to be fair to him, there has been some games that they have actually deserved to win. The game at Easter Road against Hearts, they probably should have won the game and the chances they had, but they didn't take them. But they can't stop conceding goals. Defensively, they are terrible. You look at St Mirren. St Mirren cut through them so easily. That could have been 4 or 5. They cannot defend. They've got players up front that I think Martin Boyle, I don't think he's been in great form recently. Robbie's right, it's not all on the manager. I don't think he should have got the job in the first place. And I think it comes, for me, it's a case of, because he's a Hibs legend, because of the cup final against Rangers, he might get that bit more time. But how much longer can he get? I mean, I was genuinely surprised after the St Mirren game that he wasn't sacked then, and he's got the dreaded vote of confidence, which is never a good thing. But I don't think David Gray will still be his manager by Christmas. I don't. I think he'll be gone by then. But it isn't all on him. I don't think that squad's good enough.
I don't think he'll be manager if they get beat tomorrow, Graeme. I mean, 5:45 on the telly, Premier Sports. I think if he even draws that game tomorrow, it'll be hard to see a way back.
I mean, I look back to that St Mirren game, and they could have ended up with a point out of that game that they wouldn't have deserved.
No, they wouldn't have deserved that game.
Yeah, I mean, they should have been hammered. You know, they should have been out. St Mirren should have been out of sight. But they only really started playing the last 2 minutes of the game. But I don't see enough. I don't see enough quality in that squad. I think there are good players in it, but I think there's a lack of quality. Whether he will, and again, I don't know if it goes back to, and I kind of agree with Robbie, I wish Mikey was on. I don't know if it's because of the stature that David Gray's got, being the Sir David Gray, the legend. I don't know if it's that is making the Hibs board think we need to stick with him.
Yeah,
but you can't have that kind of sentimentality. You've got to make big decisions and hard decisions.
I mean,
I genuinely think if David Gray was to get sacked, all they would do is give the job to Malcolm Mackay, who's already there. I don't think Hibs are a bit of a, I'm not going to say basket case, but the problem that I would have with Hibs, if you look at it at the time when David Gray got the job, there was a split in the boardroom. Some wanted him, some didn't. Yeah, that is never a good thing. You can't have that division in the boardroom. So I think it goes back to the boardroom as well. The fact that you've got Ian Gordon, a sporting director, again, what knowledge has he got? I think they've made really poor appointments, but it might be a case of the fact that they've sacked that many managers in the last couple of years. Maybe they don't think they can afford to sack David Gray, but there comes a point where I just don't think he's good enough. But as Robbie said, it's not on him; it's the board.
And I think Paul Donaldson makes a good point as well in terms of don't forget the Highways are playing Tuesday as well against Aberdeen, so that'll be a big match for him as well, because if he goes into that Aberdeen game and he's still not won a game, there'll be big questions. And I know Graeme is saying, problem to him, but I'm sure Graeme would like David Gray to be in charge all season. But that's a different story. But I mean, I think in terms of Hibs, I want to ask you this question, Robbie, because how long do you go? How long do you say? Because the other question that you need to ask yourself as well is January's only about 3 or 4 weeks away, so do you switch now so you can get somebody buried in before January so they can try and bring a few players in?
I mean, the problem is, as I said, if you sack Gray, I get it. If results keep going the way they're going, it needs to get sacked. It just needs to happen. you can't keep losing games of football, and Hibs fans won't accept it. They're already in a really poor position for this time of the season. But if they sack David Gray and this next appointment doesn't work, what do you do then? Because Hibs might find themselves in a battle to go into the Championship come the end of the season. I don't think anybody would have predicted that, but it could happen. Like, I'd love to ask any Hibs fan and any of you guys, if David Gray gets sacked, can anyone come in and turn this around? I really struggle to find a name that could come in and fix a situation without what Graeme said, Malcolm Mackay getting the job.
The problem I think that you would have, Reegan, about the January window is, would you trust David Gray to sign the right players? Because I don't think I would.
No, because you've still got like Rocky Bashiri and people like that who I spoke to you about 3 years ago, Graeme, and said Rocky Bashiri's not good enough. I do like the acquisition of Dwight, who was at Palace a couple of years ago.
Yeah, Dwight Gale, decent signing.
I think he could have fitted in a few other clubs as well. So I think he's a good signing, but I think there needs to be time for new players, because I think you're spot on. I don't think I would trust them.
Again, I go back to what I said earlier, and Robbie, you can tell me this after the game at Easter Road. I said it already. That Hibs defence is awful. They lose goals every week. And if you look at Warren O'Hara for the second goal McMenamin scores, I don't know what he's doing. Defensively, Hibs are so poor. And if you keep losing goals, you don't give yourself a chance in a game. You can't concede these type of goals. That Hibs defence, and also, I would also say this as well, and to be fair, the last time Mikey was on, he agreed with me. That Hibs goalkeeper is awful. I genuinely think he's one of the worst keepers in the league.
I think that's why Mikey's not on, Graeme, because he doesn't want to relieve the fact that Hibs are bottom of the league.
I think on Graeme's point, I mean, O'Hara had a really poor game, and he's right, but the Hibs goalkeeper was really, I mean, if you look at the second goal for the behind angle, I mean, McMenamin basically hits the ball straight at him, and he just sort of falls to the floor and lets it go past him. So it wasn't great for any of the Hibs defenders. To give, Rocky Bashiri a bit of credit, I actually thought he done very, very well in the second half. I thought he stopped a lot of attacks very well. I expect he'll probably start the next game just because, it was actually decent. But, that won't fix the problems. I mean, if you look at that midfield of Bon, Triantes and Yo, on paper, I don't think that's a bad midfield three. I think there's quality in each player. They just don't seem to be showing it right now. And, if you ask any Hibs fans, they struggle to tell you why. But again, Graeme, I know you said about, would you trust David Gray to bring in the right players? Would you trust Malcolm Mackay if he get the job to bring in the right players?
No, and the thing I go back to as well, the fact that I'm going to try and be positive about Hibs here. There have been some games that have actually looked all right. You go back to the game at Ibrox.
Don't forget, Malcolm Mackay was good at Ross County. Michael can go back about 2 years, and Ross County was my favourite team in this show. I mean, they had a top goal scorer called Reegan, Charles Cook. It's so many good players. So, give Malcolm Mackay a bit of slack. Come on, lads.
I mean, Hibs have some decent performances. The game at Ibrox, they should have won. The game against Hearts, they should have won. But again, it should have. They keep conceding too many goals. And you look at the game against Dundee United as well at Tannadice. They were 2-1 up and lost the game 3-2 in the last minute. That can't happen. It does feel like every time Hibs concede, their heads just go down. And they need to get rid of that. Now, I don't know what David Gray does, but they need to get rid of that. And it's against a Dundee side who I really like Tony Docherty. I think he's a very good manager. It'll be a difficult game for both teams. But right now, if you were looking at a favourite for this game, you'd probably have to go Dundee.
Just to quickly say on the player point, after the game against us, I don't know if anybody saw it, but Ellie Ewan, for one, he was up arguing with members of the crowd. That won't help any of the Hibs team either, or David Gray, when these players are out there fighting. So, that's another thing to factor in.
No,
Ellie Ewan's got about as much fight in him left as Mike Tyson does.
Reegan, a quick word before we move on about Dundee at home. We always praise Tony Dock. He's been doing a fantastic job with Dundee over the past 2 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, Tony Docherty's been fantastic. I mean, it's been a natural progression for him to really go into management, and I think in terms of him, he's done really well. The only disappointment for him is he lost his best player to Celtic this season, but I think he's bounced back pretty well. I mean, I watched the full Aberdeen game. I sound a bit an Aberdeen fan here, but I watched every Aberdeen game this season so far. They've been playing really well, so aye. And you know, I felt they probably should have been 2 goals up in the first half. Simon Murray missed a penalty in the first half to put Dundee 1-0 up right before half time, and that was a psychological barrier in the match for me, because I've never played football, guys, as you probably could tell, you know. But I mean, in terms of
that's what your exes have said.
What, your ex-teammates?
No, they didn't. No, no good at football either. Anyway, lads. I mean, oh.
It's nice to be nice.
Anyway, lads. In terms of Dundee, they've had a decent start for the season, and I think in terms of tomorrow, they'll be fancying their chances, because I think Hibs are not playing too well, and I think it's a big opportunity for them. I think if you're looking at Tony Docherty, he's probably earmarked for people like Rocky Bashiri, like the number 1 stopper like you've talked about. He's not the best player, so he'll be trying to make sure that the players know that. And I think it'll be a good match to watch, but I'm choosing to watch the Aberdeen match tomorrow.
By the way, how often do we see as well that an ex-player goes back to haunt their old club? Yeah. Simon Murray,
Game's loving the X's tonight. He's loving the
I think this is National X Day today. So I'm just going to leave that one in the cupboard.
I hope none of mine are watching. Not that there's that many.
Yeah. 1.5 maybe. I don't know. But are they not still in the jail? Anyway, let's move on. But at least they'll get to meet somebody like mine. But anyway, let's move on. Ross County against Motherwell. By the way, that was just in case my lawyers are listening. I was only kidding, right?
Have you got lawyers? Have you got lawyers, eh?
I've got lawyers, yeah. Got them from the pound shop last week. Ross County against Motherwell, 3 o'clock kickoff. But as Reegan told us early on, the game might be off because of snow. Now, Robbie, if I was looking at the fixture this weekend, that was one of the games I would say that might be off, because obviously it's high up in the highlands and all that kind of stuff. But the last time, I think the last time Motherwell went up there, did Ross County no beat them 3-0, and was it about this time last year as well? But Ross County is a very different team this season. So is Motherwell, there enough.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, any Motherwell fan get up there, I hope you wrap up well, because it's going to be Baltic if that game goes ahead, especially that far north. But in terms of the actual game, I mean, I still not even, to be honest, I've only watched the St. Ross County highlights after that game. But, you know, one thing to note with Ross County is they're not scoring many goals. And on the show for the last few weeks, we spoke about Ronan Hale. He seems to have went quite quiet. So it'll be interesting to see if he can pop back up with a goal. But these are the type of games where, you know, I know Motherwell had an alright start of the season. You've just got to say that these are the type of games that Ross County probably need to win if they want to try and stay up this season, because it's these home games against the likes of the Motherwells, Dundees, Johnstons, all that type of stuff where you really see the fight in teams. And, you know, Ross County so far this season, especially after the last match against Dundee United, they're not showing much fight right now. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on against a Motherwell team that, you know, the eyes are going to be on Lennon Miller again. But I did see, Reegan, I think you put it up on X, that a lot of scouts were at the Scotland under-19 games watching them. So it'll be see what happens to him in January. But again, he could be the difference maker against Ross County.
I was looking at the last. Ross County have won 1 of the last 8 games, which is why I think I've said this before as well. I talk about lack of quality. I don't think Ross County have got enough quality, which is why I think they could end up going down this season. I know we say it every season, but this time might be the time I think they actually do go down.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm sorry, I was waiting for some gate coming there. So Reegan, yeah, I mean, it's quite funny because the last time Ross County played Murrow, as I said, they beat them 3-0. But I mean, the tides have turned a wee bit because Stuart Kettlewell has been playing well for has got Murrow playing well, and also he's gone back to his old team. So we're going to pay them a wee visit with an away win.
I mean, the kettle has been boiled the last few weeks. He's really doing the club really well. I mean, if you look at Motherwell, I mean, they're a small club. I listened to some radio and some telly over the last few weeks. I don't know if you guys heard it, but there was a few Motherwell fans that were quite ungrateful and saying that the style of play needs to change. I don't know if you agree, Robbie, but see when St Mirren won the Championship or when they were at the lower end of the Premiership, I don't think it really mattered how they played, but as long as they got the 3 points. I think sometimes Motherwell fans can be a little bit self-entitled because see at the end of the day, it's all about making sure that you survive in the Premiership. Then if you get a wee run like you did when you scored against Rangers to go 1-0 up, these are the important games that you need to be in. But I think sometimes there needs to be a reality check as well.
Yeah, the Motherwell fans need a bit of realism, like us. You know, I feel like it's a bit of a different situation with us. You know, Robinson's style of play is very not, playing nitty-gritty football and trying to grind out results, which, it is working. And the same can be said with Motherwell as well. The fight for each result, and they've got after a very, very good start this season. And I think some fans do need a bit of reality check, as you said. Some of our fans as well. As soon as a bad patch comes, or the style of football's not attractive, it's instantly get that man out. That sort of stuff. But if you look at the way, especially these managers play in the league, it is very direct, and it is, it's not always nice to watch football. Well, no, the Premier League, but we shouldn't be expected to play that nice football. But what teams like Motherwell and us do very well is we can grind out the results, and we use the key players that we have. Take Motherwell, for example, with Lennon Miller. They utilise him very, very well in the way Kettlewell plays. So I think for each of these teams, a lot of the fans do need a bit of reality check, and we don't need to just go, right, well, we're not expected to, play Pep's Tiki Taka type style. It is going to be a graft day a season.
Here's a question for you, right? We're into late November, right? Looking at the top 6: Celtic, Aberdeen, Rangers, Dundee United, Motherwell, St Mirren. Now take out Rangers and the Celtic, and probably Aberdeen as well. Would anybody really have expected Dundee United, Motherwell and St Mirren to be making up the top 6 in the end of November? Because I certainly wouldn't have done.
No, I think the surprise for me is Derek's side. I think they'll come good at the end of the season. I don't know how many points they're behind the rest of the pack, Graeme, but you can tell me that. 3 points.
3 points behind.
Yeah, but they expect them to be close. I'd expect Hearts to be in there and possibly St Mirren. In terms of Motherwell, I think it'll be a fight for them because I think, like Robbie was saying there, it was mentioned the other day that obviously a certain player from Motherwell has been linked to Rangers, Celtic, Liverpool, any club in the land that wants a very good football player. So I think in terms of them, I think they'll be trying to try and make a profit in January. But I think also it makes sense. Say that as someone like a Liverpool or a Celtic comes in. I want to get your guys' opinions. I do think it makes sense if say he does go in January and he does go for whatever price. I do think it makes sense to sell him in January, but also make it that he can go back to Motherwell until May. But they've signed him as an official player. because there's no point in going to Celtic or Liverpool when he's not going to play for the rest of the season. You want to make sure he plays.
Yeah, I agree with that point, and that's the thing about, when I did see the links of him going to potentially, the likes of Liverpool, that he might just go in there and no play, and, I get it, he'll probably go out and loan this and that, but, you want to see a player develop properly, and I love nothing more than to see Miller going down, potentially the way Ferguson that have went, maybe down the Italian route. Obviously, if there's clubs interested, I'd love to see that type of development, or stay at Motherwell for another year, and then see where that takes him, but I just don't like these players that, they'll go down to the likes of your Liverpools and Villas and then just get loaned out for a few years. I don't like that type of style. I prefer seeing a player playing with a club no matter where they are. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Miller.
What value should Motherwell put on Lennon Miller?
I think £7 million, Graeme. £7 million for me.
I actually think more, to be honest. I mean, with the way the league works, I don't think they get much more, to be honest with you. That's just the way it is.
I think £7 million is a peak value, Robbie, but I do agree with you. I think it should be more, but I think because of the standard of play that we are playing in, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, one thing to say is that the value of players seems to be rising a tad. Again, we mentioned me off scale, they're leaving for around about 9 million. The value in these players that are doing really well here seems to be going up a bit. So we can hope that keeps happening. Even if Motherwell did get 7 million, that is game changing for them. So it'll be interesting to see how much they get.
Robbie made a point that I agree with. I actually could see Lennon Miller doing like a McTominay or a Gilmore or a Lewis Ferguson and going abroad, and I think he'd do well in any of those leagues. I don't really see him going to an English Premiership side, potentially maybe a top 6-7 Championship side, but I could honestly see him going abroad.
I think 7 to 10 million, because that's a lot of money to Motherwell.
I think it would be, Michael, but I think Brendan Rodgers made a good point about a month ago when he was talking about the play from Dundee, and he spoke about, in terms of Matt O'Reilly as well, he said, you're not playing for the player in the league, you're playing for the player. And I think that's a good point he made, Graeme, in terms of, okay, maybe playing in what the English or the Spanish call a shoddy standard, right? Then you're not paying for Motherwell. You're paying for a player from Motherwell who's a very good talent.
See, this again comes back to something that we've mentioned earlier on, and Michael said it as well before. We talk about the fact that a lot of folk outside Scotland criticise the standard of the league. But you look at Matt O'Reilly, who's gone to Brighton for however much years. We're looking at talking about Lennon Miller, potentially £7 million. There are quality players in Scotland. So it actually, for me, goes to show that Scottish football isn't actually as bad a standard as folk think it is.
No.
No.
And I think you need to remember about the thing that you and Michael speak about all the time. That's the Sky TV deals. The Sky TV deals. I mean, the TV deals that we get is terrible. It's really bad.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, remember with Miller overall as well, you take Motherwell out, he's not just captain of Motherwell side, but he's captain Scotland under 19s as well. So, it does have a lot of talent, and that's what I think, you can base that value on. As Reegan said, it shouldn't be based on Motherwell exactly, it should be based on what he's done so early on in his career.
And also, I was just going to say, guys, as well, that we always speak about youth football and players and nobody's coming through. Well, that's one perfect example, Lennon Miller, because I can't remember the last player that came out with Celtic and Rangers. It's actually make it bigger and went for big money. And now I'm not saying Stephen might hate me for saying this, but it will eventually go, but then you say kind of youth academies is working well, but not really working well, if you know what I mean, because we're only producing one every 10 years or kind of whatever. But I mean, it's good that Motherwell's got that potential at the moment.
I know he's not playing in Scotland, but all you've got to do is look what we mentioned earlier about Ben Doak. 19-year-old, and look at the level he's performing at. You look at Kilmarnock, David Watson, another player that probably will go for big money as well.
Danny Armstrong.
There is talent in Scottish football if you look for it. But this is why I think a lot of folk, again, like I said, outsiders, look at Scottish football and say, it's just Rangers and Celtic. But look at the talent that we have on our doorstep here. There is good players here if you look for it.
This is when you go back to the league, the way the league is, and with the fixtures and how thick and fast they come and what everybody plays for. There's never any time to play. Like the players that are kicking about. You just need to look at. I'll use us for example. Fraser Taylor and Kieran Offord. Robinson, and even before Robinson, Goodwin admitted that it is tough to get these guys playing regular football for us when they might have the quality, and I do believe that a lot of the players we've got on loan right now do have the quality being the first team, but with how important it is that we're on a good start, and with the way the league works, that they're not really going to get a chance. So I think it all spills back to the way the league format works. And again, we speak about the league format so much and how much we want it to be changed. I mean, could that improve our youth players getting chances if we do expand the league?
This is something I've mentioned before as well in previous shows, but I go back to Hearts and I look at a game that actually Reegan mentioned earlier, the game against Celtic years ago. Yep. I look at Harry Cochrane, 16-year-old, scored at Tynecastle, was brilliant that day. And I think a lot of folk, myself, probably thought this guy's going to make it at the top level. He's now down the league. These things kind of happen, but I genuinely thought at the time this guy was going to be a really good player. Maybe it was a case of, I don't know if it maybe went to his head a little bit because he scored against Celtic. But, sometimes these players just don't make it. But there are genuine quality players in Scotland. We just mentioned them there. But, Harry Cochrane was 16 when he broke into that Hearts team. And he made a really big name for himself. But look at him now. He's playing in the lower leagues.
See, this is why I like and it basically ties into what everybody's saying here. But I know, me, Graeme goes on about the TV deal and Reegan mentioned it earlier on. That's why I like the Premier Sport idea, because take, for instance, tomorrow night, Dundee and Hibs, right? But before 4 seasons ago, or even now, right? Sky Sports always hosts Celtic and Rangers, Celtic playing St Mirren, Rangers playing Dundee United, vice versa the next week and all that, right? But do you not think it's good, Robbie, that you get to see other teams as well, because it puts Scottish football on the map, but also it puts younger players on the map as well?
Yeah, exactly that, to be honest with you. And I remember actually when the old BT deal was about, and I actually remember one of the games when the BT deal was St Mirren versus Hamilton and a relegation scrap, which was actually quite funny to watch at the time. We've not seen enough of that type of game. It's good to see, games where it's not involving the Rangers, Celtics, Aberdeens, that sort of stuff. When, take last season, for example, one of the good games I actually thought Sky hosted was Ross County St Mirren. Now, it wasn't a very good game, but it did showcase two teams that, are at the top of the top in Scotland. So I think it's crucial that for the youth players and for the other teams that we are getting shown on TV. But Graeme, I just want to ask you, I mean, obviously we were speaking about the youth players there, and one of the big examples of Hearts right now is Adam Forrester, the young boy that's had a few games. I mean, if I was to ask you, like Cochrane, but was back in the day, can you see him having a big future?
Absolutely. He's not that long signed a new deal as well. I've been very impressed with him. He's played in Europe. He's played in a few league games as well. He's been very, very impressive. He's good going forward. He's good defensively. I generally think he's got a really big future under Neil Critchley. I think most Hearts fans look at him and think, yeah, this guy's really good. And you can see that he gets it as well. I've been very, very impressed with him. The fact that he's playing European games as well shows how much he's trusted. And I think you have to have that trust in young players. They can come in and do a job. And I've generally been very impressed with him. I don't think he'll start tomorrow. I think Oyegoki will start. But here's a question for all of you guys and the guys in the chat. And I think I might have asked this before, but I'm going to ask it again. Are you guys in favour of the B teams? Because are these young players learning enough in these B teams? Because I've said numerous times before, when I was growing up, the one thing that I liked was the reserve league, because it let young players play with more experienced pros and they learn lessons.
Yeah.
Are they learning that in the B team? Because I don't think they are.
No,
No,
I don't think,
sorry, Reegan, now you go.
no, I don't think they are. I think it's more about East Kilbride and stuff like that. I don't think it's all about improving Scotland, because I mean, like the Celtic B team and Rangers B team, they don't really get much from it, and even the Hearts B team as well.
No, I was just going to say, on the sort of reserve league, you know, there's been a few times this season where I've got to go and watch the some under 18s play, and it's actually really enjoyable. You know, they've won a good few games, especially at the home stadium. So it's been nice to see, and if you know there was to be that reserve league where these type of players could go and showcase their talent, and I'd certainly be all for it. I think the more eyes we can get on the up and coming talent, the better.
Okay, let's move on to the last game tomorrow. St Johnstone against Kilmarnock. And before I talk about the game, Graeme, I actually saw this on the St Johnstone website today, and it's brilliant to see. I know a lot of teams are doing it. Food banks. So listen up if you're going to the game, if you're a Saints fan, or maybe if you're a Kilmarnock fan, I don't see why not. You can attend the food bank before the game tomorrow and donate donate food. Sponsored by Perth and Kinross Food Bank and Saints in the community. Volunteers will be at the corner of East and Osman stand before the kickoff tomorrow. So if you want to donate food, you will be much appreciated. And also, Graeme, I don't know if you've heard of this before. This is a brilliant one to see. There are, as well as a food bank tomorrow, there is a soft toy collection. So this is organised by the Fair City fans. So there will be also a Christmas collection taking place outside the club shop tomorrow at the corner of the Osmond and East stand from 11 a.m. until 2:45 on Saturday. As I said, organised by the Fair City supporters. I just wanted to see that, say that, Graeme, because obviously it's very important, like, because we always talk about the two of us in the Friday night, we always talk about the football, but there's other things that clubs don't get recognised for. I know Celtic and Rangers and Hearts do it as well, St Mirren as well, but when I saw it on the St Johnstone website today, I thought I would mention it on the show tonight because it's very important as well, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, St Johnstone do a lot of good stuff, you know, outside the football stuff as well. We know they're a family club. They're a very well-run club as well. And yeah, it's great to see. And I think especially in the build-up to Christmas, where probably a lot of families are struggling on that, I think is a very good thing as well. So, you know, fair play to St Johnstone and fair play to kind of everyone that does that kind of thing, because it is, you know, folks struggle, especially this time of year. So fair play to St Johnstone. It's a very, very big thing they're doing.
Yeah, let me just quickly shout out someone as well who are asking for items such as winter jackets, jumpers, scarves, hats, gloves, boots and blankets to be donated at the stadium tomorrow. There'll be donating points at each turnstile from 1:30 down there. So again, another good cause.
And can I also just say as well, if he's watching this, I just want to say it as well to our friend and colleague Laurie, who's just gone through a really big loss. Laurie, we're all here for you, mate. We're all thinking about you. And I hope you and your family are all right at this difficult time, mate. I just want to get out there.
Yeah, no, well said, Graeme. Well said. Yeah, so I text Laurie today that he's okay and stuff like that. But yeah, so we're all here for you as well. But yeah, going back on the food banks as well. Yeah, so if you have got any, if you know of any clubs doing it before Christmas, let us know. And because we would like to promote the food banks as well on the show. It's terrible how we've got to talk about food banks, but anyway, that's the state of the country as well. Anyway, let's go back to the football before I go on my political horse. It is St Johnstone against Kilmarnock, Robbie.
Yeah, I'm going to put a bit of I don't know whether it's a hot take or not. In the last few weeks, for me, Valakari, St Johnstone have played some of the best football I've seen in the league outside of the sort of top four in a long time. I think, although they've not particularly picked up the results they may want, I think, and I don't know if Alistair would agree if he was on the show, but they have played some very attractive styles of football, and I think St Johnstone fans can be really positive for the way they've played. Against us, you just see what they're trying to do. They like passing the ball on the ground, especially creating attacks through the midfield, and it's really refreshing to watch because usually you're so used to seeing a team like St Johnstone playing, that direct style up the top of the pitch, and that sort of being that. But it feels like St Johnstone are really trying to have a go at staying up here. So for them, I've been really impressed watching them recently. But in terms of Kilmarnock, I think McKinnon will know how big this game is. I think we need to go here and get the 3 points because I don't want to say it's been a bad start for Kelly, but with how high the season ended last season, there would have been a lot of expectation put on their shoulders that they need to go into this season and follow up and do even better. But it's the same thing with my club that happened. The expectation rises. It wasn't such a great start, but they finally found their feet. So I think this is going to be a very, very interesting game.
Yeah, Reegan, what do you think of this game tomorrow, St Johnstone against Kilmarnock? You could basically say this is like a Derek McInnes derby.
I think it is, and I think he'll be fully aware, like Robbie said, that the St Johnstone new manager started really well, and he's playing some good football. So I think in terms of that, I think it'll be a hard game, but it's one that I think it'll be even. I think it'll be tight, but I think if the Rugby Park team turn up, then I think they'll go on and get the 3 points that they want to get tomorrow.
Graeme?
Yeah, I agree with Robbie. I think Valakari's done very well so far. I know they've obviously not won. They've lost the last 3 games, but the performance has been far, far better. I think Alistair will be quite pleased with them. That's not difficult when you have Craig Levein in charge, but they have been a lot better. So yeah, it's a difficult game for Kilmarnock tomorrow. And again, you look at that Kilmarnock side and Sidibe and Kimpioka, they can cause massive problems to anybody with the pace they've got. It'll be a hard game for Kilmarnock. But yeah, I've honestly been very impressed with Valakari. I think he's come in. He's not got, again, I'll go back to the quality side again. He's not got a lot of brilliant players in there, but they've got a bit of more of a work rate now. I can see an identity, a style of football, and they do look far, far better. They look a far better team to watch now. They just need to start turning these positives into results. Kilmarnock, again, you look back at that Celtic game, they should have got something out of the game, but Celtic eventually won it. Kilmarnock have been a very difficult side this season to judge. Sometimes they look really good, other times I'm not sure what you're going to get. And I think it's one of these ones again tomorrow. I'm not sure what we're going to get. But again, it's a big game for both teams. But I would not be surprised if St Johnstone won this game. I generally think Valakari has done a very, very good job. When it comes to January, again, who can they sign? Who can they bring in? I think they maybe need about 5 or 6 players in. But yeah, I generally think if you're a St Johnstone fan, if you're Alistair, you must be impressed with what you've seen because the difference in style of football is night and day compared to what it was under Levein.
If St Johnstone can get 3 or 4, especially defenders, in the door in January, I don't think there's any reason why they can't stay up. And that's the difference between St Johnstone and Ross County. St Johnstone, I feel like they're putting on a bit of a fight. They feel like they want to play football and get the ball done and try and break teams down, which is refreshing to see, especially with a team that was so heavily predicted to go down. Whereas Ross County, I don't want to say they look lost a fight, but it's not been great for them recently. I know obviously they picked up a point at Paisley, but against Dundee United, again, they just look so flat. So I feel like that's the sort of difference, and I feel like that's why come the end of the season it won't surprise me if St Johnstone are in the bottom 2, to be honest.
Reegan, what do you make? Give us a score prediction on this one. Do you think this will be first win for the Saints?
No, I'm going for a 2-1 to Kilmarnock.
Did I can't mind if this was St Johnstone or not, so apologies. I think it was. Did I see something this week about Celtic and Rangers getting 3 stands? Is it St Johnstone that's doing that?
Yeah, it's getting back to it.
It's getting back to the 3 stands, yeah.
I think it's due to possibly them thinking about January and needing more money, Graeme. I think that's part of the reason. And I think there's probably a bit of joined up thinking in terms of the manager probably said, look, if you can't get money from our fans, then you might as well just take it from other fans as well. I think that's important as well, Michael, because how many times have we spoke with Graeme in terms of speaking about it's important that every match has got as many fans in as possible, because I can understand that if St Johnstone's got a big support and they're doing really well, but you also don't want the stadium to be half empty and the Sky cameras to be there watching Johnson against Hearts and no one's at the match.
By the way, I'm not being funny, guys, right? But do you think that's why the BBC and Friday Night Football isn't covering any Livingston games yet at home?
I think it's probably something to do with it, because I always make a joke that three men in the dug watch it, but it always makes a great advert when you go and see Ayr, the stadium's packed. You watch Falkirk are playing tonight. Queen's Park's got a big support. So the Partick Thistle's got over 4,000 as well. So it makes a difference that you've got these support bases. And I get David Martindale and people like that at the club are doing their best trying to get ticket exposure and that, Michael, but it's very difficult because as Graeme knows, that area of Edinburgh, you've got people going to watch Hearts, Hibs. I mean, look at Mikey. You've got Mikey going to watch Hibs, Aberdeen. You know, and it shows you that. I mean, I don't know, Graeme, but I'm sure Edinburgh's kind of populated. You've got kind of Rangers, Celtic, Hibs, Hearts, and Livingston. I mean, I would say Livingston's probably the bottom of the pile there.
See, I've mentioned this to Alistair before, and I've said it to Michael as well. I cannot understand. I think McDermott Park's a really nice ground. It's a really, really nice ground, and I cannot understand. They won 2 cups. They won the Scottish Cup and they won the League Cup. They were playing European football. They had a sellout crowd against Galatasaray. Where are these fans now? Seriously, I don't get when you're winning cups and you're in Europe. Where are these fans that are going at these games now? Because if you look at McDermott Park most weeks, it is never, ever full. I don't understand where these fans have gone, because clearly they do have a fan base because they showed up for the European games. Where are they now? Why are they not coming back?
But then might that just be Scottish football neutrals going there for a good game against Galatasaray?
Yeah, I mean, just to build on that point, I mean, for the game tomorrow for us, I know it's looking like it's going to be a sellout. That's absolutely brilliant. But I remember speaking to my dad in the car about this on the way to one of the games a few weeks ago, and he said, you know, enjoy this while it lasts, because my dad was saying when we were in the Championship and stuff, and he used to go down regularly, there used to only maybe be about 3,000 if you're lucky at the ground. So I get Graeme's point fully. You know, these supporters seem to only come out when the teams are doing well, and you know, it could be, as Reegan said, just for a neutral point. You know, they want a good game of football to watch, but you see it now with us, and we are getting over 7,000 attendances almost every week at home. So I just wonder where these supporters are going.
But how can it be? I mean, I think St Johnstone are well run. I've said it before. I think they're a very well run club. But how can it be sustainable when you are every single second week, you're basically running with crowds of what? Maybe your attendance is like 3,000 for a Premier League club. How can you sustain that?
I think that's one of the main reasons. I think that's one of the main reasons why Livingston, you know, I know they always fought for a lot of seasons, but I think that's partly the reason why they ended up going down in the end, because you can only fight for so long before it just becomes so unsustainable. And you know, to give Livingston credit now, you know, I don't think that the attendances haven't went up particularly much, but they are showing a good fight in the Championship. But in the Premiership, when, Graeme, you're right, if you're not getting them crowds every week and you're not getting a good support behind you and good money coming into the club, it's going to be a struggle to try and stay up.
Well, look at
But don't forget, guys, when St Johnstone is in the cup, you know yourself, the cup games are not on your season book, so you're playing separately for that. And also on top of that, Graeme, we done the show a few seasons ago when St Johnstone fans boycotted McDermott Park, and they gave Rangers free scans. So basically, they were giving Rangers a big advantage in a big cup game.
Do you know something? I think St Johnstone did really well, and it was a couple of seasons ago. I think it was in one of the stands. They had that banner of 20's plenty about the money that you're paying for tickets and stuff. I really liked that. I think that was quality, because £20 for a ticket is definitely about the right price. But for me, when they won the 2 cups, I know it was kind of during COVID, but when they won the 2 cups, if you were going to get fans to turn out, surely it was after that. But yet they still don't turn out for these games. I go back to the game a couple of weeks ago against Hearts at McDermott Park. It was pretty much bare. I don't know how that can still be sustainable. I've said it to Alistair before, I like St Johnstone. They're a family-run club. They're a really good club. I think the job that Jeff Brown's done there has been very good. But when you are looking at that stadium and there is barely any fans there, I don't know how you can sustain that.
Yeah, Graeme, I mean, I think on, St Johnstone in particular, this is where finance plays a big part, and, not just football, but in life. Like, you need to pay money for your season ticket, and, that's good every home game. You always get the crowds every season to do it. You need to pay for cups, for St Johnstone. Reegan was right. When you're playing a Galatasaray, more people are going to fork out the money for that one game, because, you're not paying full money for the season ticket, and prices every season seem to be going up right now. So, to be honest, it won't surprise me if attendances at the likes of St Johnstone stuff every week start getting lower at the home ground, because season ticket prices in particular are only rising, and it's a big problem in Scottish football.
Okay, let's go to and Robbie, by the way, we'll come back to that point, because I think it's a very important point. Even though I was talking about food banks, it kind of ties in, because a lot of people's not getting the money, but they're still going to football and stuff like that. And people can meet ends meet sometimes. But yeah, that's an interesting topic to come back to. Let's look at the Championship quickly before we go. There's a game on tonight, Friday night football, Robbie. It is Queen's Park against Falkirk. There we go, 8:15 kickoff. Tomorrow, it's Airdrie against Livingston, Ayr United against Dunfermline, Morton against Packet Thistle, Hamilton against Raith Rovers. Right, guys, what's your pick of the game there?
I think for me, it's probably the match that's on Friday Night Football, Queen's Park Falkirk. I mean, on that point you were talking about there, Michael, Falkirk are getting over 7,000 people going to the match, possibly more. So I think they'll be a really good addition to the Premiership when they do come up. But yeah, I think that's probably the match of the weekend. And I would say that Ayr against Dunfermline match is a tasty one and all. So Scott Brown will be looking to win that match, particularly because Falkirk are playing tonight. So he'll be hoping that maybe there's a wee slip up and then they can go and take advantage tomorrow.
Can I think I've mentioned this before. Can I just touch on Airdrie? I've been so disappointed with them this season. I genuinely thought they were going to do well this season on the Reese McCabe. I was impressed with them the last season, but they're sitting on 5 points this season. They look like they're going to get relegated this season. I've been so disappointed with them, because I really had high hopes for them. Yeah,
Graeme, that was going to be my pick, actually. Airdrie Livingston, because I know Livingston have done all right so far, but Airdrie are really, really disappointing. I actually thought they'd be much higher up and actually fighting for promotion, but I don't know what's happened to them. It'll be interesting to see if they can beat a Livingston team that, I must say, I hope Yenge against Falkirk, I think it was, took his goal very, very well. I think it'll be an interesting game, that one. And I hope Airdrie turn it around, because I do think they have a decent team and they can be higher up in the league.
I think that the game for me, guys, tomorrow, Robbie might hate me for saying this, but Morton against Packet Thistle.
Yeah, Patrick Thistle got a great win And last week, Michael, 5-1 at home to Hamilton. So I think Partick Thistle are a very good team. They've obviously got Brian Graham, who's doing really well with the ladies' team. He's also scoring goals as well. So no, I think Partick Thistle are a good team to watch.
Yeah, I mean,
I think A United have been excellent this season. I really do. I don't think Scott Brown will be there for much longer. I think he's definitely destined for bigger things. But I've been really impressed with A United.
See, Graham, that's you ruined everybody in Ayrshires night tonight.
Probably.
Just I think, I mean, Graeme, you make that point. I mean, what would have happened maybe if David Gray took a step into the Championship first before getting the Hibs job? Things could have worked out so much differently. And you're saying it was not being moved with how well he's done.
Can I also just move away from the Championship for a second and talk about how disappointed I am about Dumbarton? 152 years they've been in existence, and they've now got a 15-point deduction. And again, it's happening so many times. It's happening so much now. You got Inverness in financial trouble. You've now got Dumbarton going into administration. I mean, these clubs just seem to be getting so badly run. And for one of the clubs that's one of the oldest in the league, it is so disappointing to see.
I think it all ties back in where you were talking about the St John's and home support, Graeme. If you don't get supporters coming through the gates every week, you always got to struggle, but that's a shame about kind of like Dumbarton. But I think maybe part of Dumbarton's trouble is they've only got one stand there as well.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's famous for that rock. I mean, that's what it's famous for. But they, like I said, they're one of Britain's oldest clubs, and to have this kind of, to be in this trouble. And again, I'll go back to the Inverness as well. It wasn't that long ago they were in a Scottish Cup final. It seems to be happening more regularly now that these clubs are going into administration. And they don't have the fan bases that like the Hearts and that have, but it's so disappointing. And that's when I think as well, and I talk about the SFA a lot, but that's when I think people like that have got to step in and help these clubs out. They can't do it themselves. They've got to step in and help.
No, exactly. Okay, so let's move on to talk about the other ball this weekend. No, it's not cricket, Robbie. It's rugby, Alego. The rugby international games on this weekend. Good run through the game for you. Ireland against Fiji, Wales against South Africa, and the big one on Sunday. And I still don't know why the Celtic Hearts game's got a kick-off anyway, because I thought the game was at Murrayfield going Saturday. That's why I thought the game was tomorrow night. But the game's actually Sunday, so it doesn't really make sense. But hey, it's TV again. So Scotland against Australia on Sunday, Robbie. That's a big one at the weekend for Scotland.
Yeah, I can't claim I watch rugby a lot, but it's always good to see Scotland doing well, whether it's any sport, whether it's rugby, tennis, all that. It's always good to see our country doing well, so I hope they can get the win versus Australia.
Yeah, no, exactly. Graeme, will you be watching the game?
If I get a chance, I think it'll be a difficult game. I don't think Scotland were actually that bad against South Africa last time.
No,
I think it's probably a game that Scotland can look at and think we've got a chance here. I've been reasonably impressed with what I've watched from Scotland recently, and the fact that it's at Murrayfield. I mean, Murrayfield is such a difficult place to go for any team. I think we'll give Australia a hard game here. I generally think we've got a chance on this one.
There you go. So that's a Scotland Australia game. We'll be keeping you up to date on that on the show on Sunday. And also the VR show that we done on Wednesday night with the guys. Go back and watch that. It was a fun hour and a half as well. And we'll be back with the European games next week as well with Celtic Rangers and Hearts. Hey guys, brilliant show as always. Thanks to Robbie, Graeme and Reegan. We'll do it all again on Sunday. Thanks for watching the show as well. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, or as Reegan says, my ex, actually Locker Room Indie on Twitter. And we'll see you on Sunday at 3 o'clock with no football.